Hi there, my name's Hannah, and today we're using Play-Doh to explore ways of making sculptures. A sculpture is an artwork that's three-dimensional, so it isn't flat like a drawing. This is a big sculpture at the De Young Museum called Sky Cathedral's Presence 1. It was made between 1959 and 1962 by the artist Louise Nevelson. Look at all the different shapes and lines she's used to make this piece. Here's another sculpture called The Orator, made by the artist Pablo Picasso in 1933 and 34. Can you spot the different textures and patterns? I wonder if they remind you of anything. We'll be creating textures and patterns in our work today and thinking about shapes and lines as we make our sculptures at the end. First, we need to make the Play-Doh. You'll need 2 bowls, a wooden spoon for mixing, measuring cups and spoons, a way to boil water, and an airtight container for storage. Your ingredients are 1 generous cup of flour, 1 tablespoon of cream of tartar, 3/4 cup of very hot water, 1/2 cup of salt, 1 tablespoon of any kind of vegetable oil, and 1 grown-up to help. Measure the flour and cream of tartar in a bowl and mix. Boil the water. With your very hot water in the other bowl, add the salt and stir. Add the oil. Tip in the flour mixture. Carefully stir with a wooden spoon to combine the ingredients into a dough. Once combined, stir as much as you can. And when the dough has cooled to a warm temperature, use your hands to knead the dough, working for several minutes. Store in an airtight container or sealed plastic baggie to keep fresh. If you don't have cream of tartar, you can make a simple salt dough recipe with just flour, salt and water. In a mixing bowl, add a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of water and a 1/4 cup of salt. Stir well. Add 1 cup of flour. Using a wooden spoon, stir to combine ingredients to a dough. You may need a little extra water if it's too dry, or a little extra flour if it's too sticky. Knead by hand for several minutes. And again, keep the dough fresh by storing in an airtight container or sealed plastic baggie. If you aren't working at the kitchen counter like me, maybe use a washable placemat or chopping board as a work surface. You'll also need to gather a few tools. Ask a grown-up what's okay to use. Set them aside for later. Get some paper, a pencil, and if you have one, a camera might come in handy. First, we'll be using the Play-Doh just with our hands to experiment. Then we'll scrunch it up to make more things. If you make something you really like, go ahead and take a photo of it or make a quick sketch before you scrunch it up to make the next thing. Let's split the dough roughly in half. Set 1/2 aside for later. You want to have a comfortable amount in your hand so you can hold it easily. Roll the dough between your hands to make a ball. What can you do with the dough? Press it, poke it, pinch it, stretch it. Maybe you could write down the action words of what you did with the dough. Roll the dough into a ball. Now roll the ball between your hands or on the work surface to make a long sausage shape. We're going to create a pattern along the top first using just our hands. This time we could use a tool. Think of using the tool in 2 different ways to make 2 different marks. If you like, you can take a photo or sketch so you can share your ideas later. Now we're going to press the Play-Doh flat between our hands, not too thin, to make a patty. Keep it about the same thickness as your hand. We'll be making the Play-Doh into a tile. Use a popsicle stick or something similar to cut the edges of the dough into a square shape, or keep it in the round patty shape if you prefer. If you cut it into a square, don't cut off too much. Keep the square as big as you can. Pick a tool and gently press into the surface to create texture. Consider using the same tool in a different way to create a different texture. Take your time. Think about how you place the tools to create a pattern on the tile. I wonder what tools you'll use and what textures they'll make. Put your tile to one side. Now we can use all the skills we've learnt from experimenting and practicing to create whatever you'd like with the other half of the Play-Doh. You can just use your hands or the tools or both. You could start by making smaller shapes and using them to make one big sculpture. Or maybe use one large piece of dough, pinching, pushing or pulling to change its shape into something else. Whatever you make, go ahead and take a photo or sketch it so you can share it with everyone. I wonder what your favourite tool will be and why, and what surprises you'll have when you experiment with the Play-Doh. I wonder how you can use these ideas when you're making other art projects. Now you can be detectives, looking for shapes, lines, textures and patterns wherever you go. Thanks for joining me.